Are you a coach who makes mistakes during games that cost your team runs? Then today's video is for you. Today, we're going over 5 biggest mistakes that coaches make that cost your team runs in a game. Hey team, welcome to another Bullpen Bulletin with Coach Hart and Building Better Baseball, the best place for baseball education. So let's get into the 5 biggest mistakes that coaches make that cost your team runs. So the first mistake that we're going to go over is coaches not knowing the situation. And this doesn't have to go with the number of outs or anything like that. I mean, obviously, as a coach and on the base pass, whether you're on first base or third base, you should know the situation, like how many outs there are, where the runners are, everything like that. This is not talking about that. This is talking about things that happen in a game during a play where you should have previous knowledge of the situation in order to get your team around and score some runs. So the first one I want to go over is your runner's speed. So you should know how fast all of your runners are. If you don't know how fast your runners are and what kind of base running skills that they have, then you will cost your team runs, right? If you have a player at second base and there's a single to left field, are you going to send them? Do you know how fast they are? Do you know if they will beat the throw to home plate? If you don't know your runner's speed and if you don't know that information, then you could possibly send somebody who's not going to make it, who's going to be clearly out, and that costs your team runs, right? So knowing your runner's speed. The second thing with this is knowing the outfield and defensive efficiency. So knowing the arms of the outfield. Does the outfield have strong arms? Do they have weak arms? Do they hit their cutoff men? How efficient is the defense with their cutoffs and relays and everything like that? You find out all of that information during the pregame warm-up when you watch the defense just go through pregame warm-up, right? Just take a little quick glance out there. Notice how strong the outfielders' arms are. Notice how efficient they are with their relays, all right? And that will give you a lot of information on whether to send certain runners, base runners during the game or not. And the last thing with this is like basically when to steal and when to hit and run, right? So just situational baseball. If you're not studying or just really just know situational baseball of when to steal a runner, when to do a hit and run and do different things like that, you're going to be costing your team runs, right? And those two things, the stealing and the hit and runs, it's not that you're hurting your team, like you're not actively causing outs on the field. You're just not taking advantage of everything that you could take advantage of, right? So just knowing when to steal runners, knowing when to do a hit and run or a bunt or anything like that. Just knowing that situational baseball. And the second mistake I see coaches make that I have even made myself is leaving pitchers in too long. All right, so I know this is a kind of a gray area where you have your best pitcher on the mound and they're not doing too well. Do you leave them in? Do you believe in them that they can get the outs, right? And it also depends on your defense. Is your defense making errors behind them and leaving runners on base, right? So the one thing that I would say with this is, first of all, know your pitcher. Know your pitcher and what their limit is. A lot of coaches, they just leave their pitcher in and just hope for the best. You should see signs from your pitchers of when they are fatiguing, all right, and when to take them out, all right? So if you have a stressful situation, like a stressful inning where there's a couple runners on, there's no outs, how is your pitcher responding? Are they showing the signs of fatigue or are they showing the signs of more frustration with the situation, right? Those are two different things. And as a coach, you should know all of your pitchers' signs of when they are just kind of frustrated and everything like that and when they are actually fatiguing and they probably cannot give their best because they've already given it all on the mound, right? One thing with this is utilize mound visits. Go talk to your pitcher, right? So go out to the mound, say, hey, how you feeling? Do you think you can get this guy out? How's your arm feeling? Are you tired? You're at this level of pitch count, right? So utilize your mound visits and talk to your pitcher, see how they're feeling. All right, and if they are saying, hey, coach, I'm kind of tired, but I really can get through it, maybe you take them out. Maybe you put in a fresh arm to get that last out. right? And or if they go, and one of my favorite stories is that Nolan Ryan, one of the best pitchers ever, right? There was a famous mound meeting, and he was like, hey, you look about 50%, and then Nolan Ryan basically goes, my 50% is better than any 100% you got in that bullpen, so I'm staying on the mound, right? So it's different things like that. So if the pitcher shows you confidence and tells you, coach, I can do this, I'm a little tired, but I'm going to get this out for you, then you can leave them in, right? It's your judgment call. But the second mistake that I see a lot of coaches make is they just leave their pitcher too long because they don't know their signs of the pitcher's fatiguing, right? And they don't utilize their mound visits. They just sit back in the dugout and just hope for the best, right? Utilize mound visits, go out, talk to your pitcher, notice the signs that they're fatiguing and everything like that. All right, so the second mistake, leaving pitchers in too long. So the third mistake I see coaches make is really goes back to practice time, and that's not training or preparing your team for fundamental defense. And I'm talking about how to do a cutoff relay, how to do priorities, what priorities, fly ball priorities are in the field, how to do a bunt defense, how to do pitcher's fielding practice where the pitcher covers first base on a right side ground ball. Those different things, how to do a rundown, right? Those defensive efficiency topics should be covered in practice, and they should really be focused on a lot more than you probably are doing, because those situational defensive things are really what they can cost you a lot of runs when your team is just kind of throwing the ball around. But even if they're not throwing it around, like making bad throws, if you have an inefficient cutoff system, or your team doesn't know where to go with the ball, like after a relay, or how to line up, or how to operate a rundown, those simple things can be covered in practice, and you can prepare your team in practice doing all of those things to make sure that you are more efficient as a defense in the game. So you don't cost yourself a lot of runs. The only time where you want the other team to score is when they earned it, right? So they got a big hit, or they got a clutch hit up the middle with 2 runners on, right? That is the time where giving up runs, it's never good to give up runs, but in that time, you're just be like, okay, that was a better team, that was a really good hit. The worst is when your team makes mistakes or is inefficient on the defensive side with rundowns or cutoffs or anything like that, and that's how you give up runs. That just kills you as a coach. So when you are in practice, make sure you cover all of the defensive situational things to make your team the most efficient team it can be, where the only time that you will give up runs is when the other team earns it. The fourth mistake I see coaches make, and I used to make it myself, is not utilizing the bunt, or even just kind of small ball style baseball. In today's game, everybody's all about the home run and launch angle and exit velocity and all these power metrics of baseball. It just conquers the game today. And I feel like the bunt is not utilized enough, especially in youth baseball. And it's just such a powerful tool because, first of all, not a lot of teams see a lot of bunting, right? So therefore, they probably don't do a lot of bunt defensive sort of things where they're not going to be prepared, right? It catches them off guard when you lay down a bunt in a critical situation, right? If you're late in the game with a runner on third or a runner on second, and your player lays down a bunt, that catches the other team off guard, and they're like, oh, we have to field this bunt, right? So I just think it's a very powerful tool to teach your team how to effectively bunt, because it's just an all-encompassing skill where it catches the other team off guard. They're not really prepared because they probably don't work on a lot of bunt defense, right? And the same kind of thing goes with hit and runs. So hit and runs, when the runner steals and it's a hit, and obviously it's really hard in youth baseball to place it where you want to place it. I get that. And hit and runs is a little bit of a higher level skill. But if your team can do it, if your team can just like hit a ground ball to the right side and you do a hit and run, I mean, that's a skill that catches the team off guard, and that will ultimately, it could snowball the defense into making bad throws everywhere, which will get your runner around to score. Right? So just utilizing more small ball tactics and kind of getting away from all of the big hits and the launch angle and everything I said before that kind of conquers the game right now. If you start doing some small ball things, that will get your runners around. And I just feel like it's not utilized enough in youth baseball. And if you really think about it, the last thing is that if you really teach your team how to bunt, how to do the stance, right? You're getting up here, you're getting down into the bunting stance, and you really practice it. Bunting is kind of easier than hitting the ball, right? When you swing and hit the ball, you're using a moving target to try and hit a moving target. Whereas with bunting, you're just holding the bat out and just trying to let the ball hit the bat, right? So bunting for some kids is almost easier than hitting the ball. And it can be a really, really powerful tool for you if you start utilizing some small ball tactics in there. And the last mistake I want to go over, it's going to be quick. It's basically coaches not teaching their team to stop the bleeding or to hold the ball. It is okay for your team to hold the ball. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen players or teams just throw the ball around the field because they're trying to chase the runner where they're going. And now, don't get me wrong, if you have a player and that runner is going to be clearly out and you know you can make a good throw, then make that throw. But what I'm talking about is the player seeing the runner and they automatically throw the ball without thinking, how far is the throw? Can I make a good throw? Is it going to be in time for there even to be an out, right? All of those things where the team just throws the ball everywhere and they're just making bad throws, and then it's just a merry-go-round for the other team scoring runs, right? So it is okay to hold the ball. It is okay to hold the ball. Stop the bleeding, right? If you make one bad throw, that player who runs and gets the ball, bring it back to the field and assess the situation. Don't just make an errant throw just because you see a base runner running. It is a no throw is much better than a bad throw, because a no throw keeps the runner where they are, and a bad throw can help them advance and even score a run. Right, so the last one I really see a lot of is teams just don't stop the bleeding. Right, they just throw the ball all the way around, making bad throws, chasing the ball everywhere, and the runners just go around and around and around and around. So just as a quick recap for this video, number one, not knowing the situation as a coach, and that applies more than just the outs and everything. That's your runner speed, outfield arms, everything like that. Number two, leaving your pitcher in too long. Utilize mound visits to assess your pitcher. Number three, not preparing your team with fundamental defense like cutoffs and relays and rundowns. Number four, not using small ball tactics. And number five, not teaching your team that it is okay to not throw the ball, to hold the ball, and to stop the bleeding. So before we go, if you're a coach and you want to plan your next practice in less than 10 minutes, I have a blueprint for you down in the description. It's in your youth coaching starter pack. It's all free. I made it for you. Go grab it if you'd like. Remember, I'm Coach Hart. This is Building Better Baseball, the best place for baseball education, and I will see you in another video real soon.